Welcome to the Driver's Line. I'm Greg.
And I'm Jordan.
And we've got a conversation for you today.
That's right. Today's conversation is about cars that we're actually shocked made it to production.
That's right. You know, so many of these giant corporations have everything committee. You got the suits who are trying to make these decisions, and they basically just will cancel everything because they don't think it's going to turn a profit. But these are a few concepts that actually made the green light.
That's right. So Greg and I are each going to give you 3 cars that we are most surprised by. Mm-hmm. And I'll start us off.
All right.
We're going to come to you from the land of the rising sun, Japan. Most of their automakers are pretty conservative.
A little bit.
Some Mitsubishi, they're kind of weird.
Yeah, Mitsubishi.
I know. And now they're just irrelevant. But anyway. Sorry.
Blazing those spicy takes.
One automaker that's definitely not irrelevant, Toyota.
Yeah.
All right. So Toyota is very conservative typically. But, something happened when Akio Toyoda realized our cars are all boring. They're all like Novocaine.
They are.
We need to spice things up.
Yes.
And he thought, why not just go right to the heart of the matter? Let's produce a V10 supercar.
Ooh.
So Toyota said, you know what? Let's do it. So they actually developed this car through their racing program, had all these firsts as part of it. The most striking one to me is they had to develop a new type of carbon fiber for the actual chassis that they had to redo twice, and created their own factory to create this specific weave just for this car. I mean, no car maker goes through this type of depth at this scale. I mean, Toyota's a massive corporation, and all this effort was put into this one vehicle. They pulled out all the stops, and I'm shocked that they actually produced it.
That's just unbelievable, because it is just one of the most fantastic cars ever built. And like Jordan said, they literally got one pretty much 99% done, and they're like, this isn't good enough.
It's not good enough. Yeah.
We're gonna go back and all the way back to the drawing board, basically from scratch, started completely over, and just built this amazing car. And one of the things that I just absolutely love about the LFA is, of course, that engine. That engine revs so fast, they couldn't use an analog tach for it. They had to use a digital tach because the needle would not move fast enough as that engine gained speed.
It's such a fantastic engine. It sounds so great.
It sounds so good.
Just horrifying hell.
Yes. It's just, it sounds otherworldly, to be perfectly honest. Like, I mean, it sounds like nothing else on the road, nothing that has come before it, nothing since. And so it's just one of the most unique sounding vehicles out there.
Yeah, so we're very happy that Toyota took the risk.
Yeah, well done, Toyota, and well done to Badgett as a Lexus, and not give it that horrible Predator mom.
That is true.
Yes.
That is true.
Yes. All right, so great choice. Great choice. So I'm going to take us a little bit further back in time with my first choice, and mine comes from Dodge. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that out there. It comes from Dodge. So think about Dodge in the late 80s and early 90s. What kind of cars was Dodge making?
Ooh, let's see. That'll be like K cars, minivans.
Front wheel drive, everything.
Boring stuff.
You know, a couple sporty things here and there, like the Daytona, but nothing exciting or interesting or fast.
No, and
nothing unique.
Half of them were like Mitsubishis.
Yeah, that's also a fact. Like Diamond Star Motors was a thing, right?
Yeah.
And so, a few nut jobs at Dodge was like, hey, we put a V10 in our Ram pickup truck. What happens if we retune it and put it in a sports car?
Yes. Oh, this is a great thing.
What if we get a sports car, and what if we just don't give it windows?
Or door handles.
Let's make it kind of like a kit car. That'll be real fun. And so that's what they did, and they called it the Viper.
Oh, so cool.
And 3 generations later, we just had one of the most iconic cars in history from a company that was making nothing but front-wheel drive people movers.
Yeah, it's wild. How are they able to do it?
How it got off of the corporate floor, I have no idea. This is something so far removed from what they were doing. They made a legitimate American supercar.
They did. It's one of the first cars to really challenge the Corvette when it came to that
American supremacy. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. And I don't even know how they were able to get a car out the door without door handles. That's just wild to me.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. But they did. And it is just, again, it's one of the most iconic cars that has been out of the United States and basically our entire history. It is just a fantastic car. Every generation is unique. Every generation is interesting. And they all share that V10. Yeah,
and they all stood the test of time through all of Chrysler's horrendous buyouts.
Mismanagement, buyouts, and the Viper somehow persisted and survived. It's just amazing.
Yeah, I wish we had it back.
I know. Me too.
Yeah. That's a great pick because that really embodies this so well.
It does. There's something that is just, I'm so gobsmacked that it was made, but
true.
Still love the fact that it was made.
Yes, we're very happy that it was. All right, I'm going to go a little bit further back in time than my original pick here. Maybe not quite as far as you're going to go. Maybe the mid-2000s. See, right before the millennium, Porsche, yes, I'm mentioning Porsche, was in a bad state.
Yes.
It was looking bad for them. Real rough. And they came out with the Boxster, which started to turn their fortunes around.
Yeah, so they just created a new entry-level option for people to get into the brand, which was fantastic.
Exactly, and it still embodied what Porsche was about, and it sold really, really well, right? So from there, they're like, all right, we're starting to get our mojo together. We've got 2 really successful cars here. What can we do to really just start making some bank? Maybe we can make a 3rd sports car, right?
Yeah.
No. Instead, they did something that was so widely panned. Every single automotive journalist was like, are you all crazy? Just what is wrong with you? And that is the Porsche Cayenne. They took all their sports car heritage and were like, you know what? Let's set this aside and let's make an SUV. And not only are we going to make an SUV, we're going to make an SUV that can go off-road as well as on-road. What a challenge to give yourself. And Porsche had the last laugh because thanks to the Cayenne, they brought in so much money, they were able to turn around their fortunes. It became their best seller for years to come. And not only that, ushered in further models like the Macan, which is a pretty fantastic vehicle in and of itself, and still holds on to that Porsche DNA. So Porsche saw an opportunity, seized it, and called out everybody that was hating on them. And you know what? We're thankful for that because if it wasn't for the Cayenne that they produced out of nowhere, Porsche would not be here today probably.
That's right. I mean, the Cayenne was just something that completely turned the company on its head. And, you know, it's kind of hilarious that so many people were against the idea because they're like, you're a sports car manufacturer. You don't build SUVs. But then they came along and built some of the best road-going SUVs on the planet. Like, absolutely. I mean, you want a small SUV, Macan is almost second to none. Yeah. You want a full-size SUV, the Cayenne is just absolutely fantastic. And, you know, the later versions obviously are meant to stay on-road, but they do it so well for something that is so heavy.
Absolutely. Yeah, they really hide their size very well.
They do. It's still very dynamic, fun to drive for what they are. It's just wonderful, wonderful vehicles. And, you know, one of the things that kind of kills me is that between the Cayenne and the Macan, they account for 60% of Porsche's sales.
That's crazy.
Over 60%. Just 2 models. I mean, you've got so many other models sitting there. You got the Panamera, you got the 911, all the iterations of the 911. Yeah. You got the Cayman, you got the Boxster.
Yeah.
Got the Taycan. Yeah. Was that 5 other models? And just 2 account for 60%, and they're both SUVs.
There you go.
So no, Porsche knew exactly what they were doing, and they executed it perfectly. Yeah. Could have worked on the styling maybe a little bit of that first gen Cayenne because it didn't look very good, but they got it right with the next 2 generations,
absolutely.
I think.
Absolutely.
Good choice. Good choice. It's actually on my honorable mention list.
Very nice.
Yes. All right. So my second choice, we are staying with our friends at the Dodge, Plymouth, Eagle, whatever group at the time. So, speaking of dead brands, this one is actually from Plymouth.
Oh, okay.
And Plymouth. So Plymouth in the mid-90s was like, hey, we got a wild hair too. We saw how well that Viper went for our friends down at Dodge. We're going to build ourselves a hot rod.
Oh, I know exactly what you're going with.
That's right. They decided to build the Plymouth Prowler.
Yeah.
And it was just such a unique, interesting, cool, like, you know, it kind of helped usher in, I feel like, that whole retro vibe that just kind of took over the whole automotive marketplace because they're like, oh, people love retro cars. This is so cool.
Yeah, they came out with the PT Cruiser, like... But, no, I think the Prowler's such a great choice. I mean, how the car was, like, truly shocking when it came out. People were like, how is this a new car?
Absolutely. Like it looked like something straight out of like the 30s and 40s and was just really, really cool. What else from a major manufacturer is going to have open wheels on the front? Literally had open wheels.
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable. Had to pass crash testing.
It's insane.
And it did.
It did, yeah. It was.
It had one fault.
Yeah.
And that one fault was the powertrain in it. They really just decided to mail it in with that one because they're like, hey, you know what? We're just going to use the 3.5 liter V6 out of the Intrepid with the auto stick. It's fine.
They spent so much money on that body that
There was nothing left to develop or even use anything off the shelf. Like, I mean, that car cried out for a V8.
Oh, absolutely.
That's all it needed was a V8 and a manual. That's all it needed. And it would have been perfect, but they just couldn't do it. They just decided not to for probably monetary, financial reasons, understandably. But just the fact that that thing got made.
Oh, yeah.
Like, going down the road today, almost 30 years later.
Yeah.
They are still just like completely striking going down the road. Absolutely. A car that old.
Yes, it's a beautiful design. Yeah, it's timeless.
It is timeless.
And it's just so unique. I mean, it's unique in a weird way because it harkens back, right, to those classic hot rods, but it updates it in a modern way that's also retro. It just has so many facets to it.
It does. And it
captures you.
The thing that would kill me is like you could honestly put that in a modern showroom, and I think it would stand out.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely.
It's just such a unique and cool and interesting design. So, kudos to Plymouth for getting it done back then. Sorry, Plymouth, you're not here anymore. Right. But, at least you gave us the Prowler among a lot of other really cool classic cars.
Absolutely. That's a great pick. Fantastic pick. All right, my last pick is a bit of an oddball.
Ooh.
Not going to lie. My pick has a 5-speed manual transmission.
Okay.
It's got a supercharged 4-cylinder mid-engine.
Ooh.
What do you think I'm talking about?
Sounds like an MR2.
It does sound like an MR2. But it's not. It's also from Toyota, though.
Ooh.
It's the Toyota Previa.
What?
That's right, a van.
Stop the presses. Our van guy chooses a van.
Porsche and a van in the same episode.
Check. I mean, like, this is Jordan's dream episode here. He gets to talk about Porsches and vans. He's so happy. Look at him. He's just busting right now.
We can just talk about the time that Porsche stole that Volkswagen van. It's a support vehicle. We'll say that for another episode. So let's talk about the Previa because I think it's a fantastically weird vehicle.
Yes.
I mean, how many mid-engine minivans do you know about?
None.
Exactly.
Besides that. Yeah.
On top of it, we have a manual transmission option in this thing. It looked a little odd, and I think that's cool. It stuck out.
That is unique.
It was futuristic.
Yeah.
And I hate that they don't make it anymore because it was really cool, but it's obviously older now. But, way back in 1990, that thing looked like a spaceship.
Oh, absolutely. It looked like nothing else down the road. And, the way they were able to, compartmentalize it was different just because it had everything in the wrong place for a minivan.
Yes. To service that engine, you had to open the floor.
Yes.
So, what is happening?
So crazy.
But it is so cool, and I'm shocked that a company would be like, you know what? Let's take the traditional packaging of a minivan and let's just flip it on its head and see what happens. But obviously, it didn't last. But
the crazy thing is, I can't believe you didn't pick the 911 of minivans, a rear-engine van.
VW Transporter. Yeah. I mean, but I could see that being made because it shared platforms with the Beetle, right? So, now this is so unique. So unique. I would love to own a Previa one day.
Maybe one day you will.
I mean, they have a whole racetrack series in Japan for them. I want that. That'll be fun. Let's go to Japan and do it.
You can go to Japan and get yourself a key car, too. You're crazy.
I love them.
I know you do. And we entertain your odd fetishes, but whatever. So I'm going to talk about someone else's fetish in this one. So, the CEO of Volkswagen had a vision.
Oh.
And he wanted to make...
Is this Ferdinand?
This is Ferdinand, indeed. And he wanted to make one of, if not the world's best sedan. And he was like, we're going to just pull out all the stops. We're going to make the best sedan in the world. And this is Volkswagen, again, in the mid-aughts, right? They're making Volkswagen cars, right? They're making cars for people. They're making cars for the average person that they can buy and enjoy with that, German flair and quality that you kind of expect, right? Sure. And so this is completely out of left field for them. They do not make luxury cars that compete with the likes of the S-Class, the 7 Series, the Audi A8.
Right.
They don't do it.
No, they don't. It's a people's brand, right?
Yes,
people's car.
Supposedly. But not anymore, according to Ferdinand. So this, of course, I'm talking about is the Volkswagen Phaeton.
Yes.
And was just something I still to this day cannot believe they made, because it was just such a unique car in its space. He had so many requirements for this car, and famously, the best one is that it had to maintain a cabin temperature of 22 degrees Celsius while running 186 miles an hour down the Autobahn.
Where did she go? I feel like you're just picking out stats out of the hat.
Yeah, exactly. This is
Do this.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
yeah? Now do this.
Yeah, and it did when it ran. You know, I mean, it was not the most reliable car. You know, it had two great engine options. It had the W12 and had their V8. So, you know, two very powerful engines that you could get into it, which both could easily do that 186 miles an hour. Nice slippery body. You know, very, very well built, very classically designed too. At the same time, like it's, you know, just a timeless, handsome car, and also just like the best bit about it is those rear trunk hinges.
Ooh, the hinges, yes. Those
they're just absolutely gorgeous, like polished stainless steel, just absolutely gorgeous pieces of artwork that are hidden.
Yeah, that's true. No one will ever look at them.
No, nobody will see them.
Like, make a point.
Yeah, and so like you open that trunk and you're just like, oh,
it's great attention to detail.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really
and that's exactly what that car was attention to detail.
Yep.
You know, we've talked about it before. You mentioned the air vents. Just a lot of really cool detail in that car just made it so unique and special. And, you know, it ultimately ended up sharing a platform, right, with the Bentley Flying Spur.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, same platform. Yeah. So a lot of engineering first led to that. So I think that's a great call out, because who on earth would expect Volkswagen to produce something like that?
I mean, they don't anymore.
And now it didn't work out.
Yeah. It was the one time they did, and, you know, unfortunately it didn't really work out how they hoped it would, but the fact they did it was really cool.
Absolutely. That's a great pick. Fantastic car when it ran. Too bad Ferdinand didn't make reliability one of his...
I know, he should have made that one of his demands, and then maybe it would actually be reliable.
Oh, well. Well, we hope you enjoyed our episode on cars that were shocked, made it to production.
Yeah, let us know what you think we missed. I'm sure there's some other ones that we've had on our list that we didn't have a chance to talk about.
Absolutely.
So let us know which you know, concepts that made production really surprised you.
That's right. Thanks for watching.
We'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us on The Driver's Line.
If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe to make sure you don't miss a thing.